So if you're looking to make the most amount of money as an entrepreneur, there are 3 different types of businesses that you can do this in. Now, from 2008 to 2015, I started 9 different businesses that all wind up failing and that never did a total of $100,000 combined in sales. And since then, I have created businesses that have done over $5 million in sales. In this video, let's talk about how you can apply that to be able to make as much money as you can. Now, the first thing you need to know in business is to model success. Model what works. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. That was kind of one of the mistakes that I was making, is I was trying to wing it. I was not copying a proven model. And so in the beginning, you don't need to do anything innovative. You don't need to do anything new. You can if you have that skill set, but the easiest thing you can do is to just model success. So as we walk through these businesses, I want you to think about how you can just model what other people have done. The other thing to note with these businesses is that you need to know these 2 principles when it comes to building a business. Number 1 is that sales cures all and that the best marketer wins. All right, so let's dive in. All right, so the first type of business that is really gonna help you to make a lot of money is just focusing on a cash flow focused business. What do I mean by that? This is a business that has pretty much no overhead, and the sole intention is to just produce as much cash flow as possible. So what are situations when you might wanna be producing a cash flow business? Well, maybe you're starting a side hustle, or you are a new entrepreneur and you left your job and you have to replace your income right away. You're just trying to produce cash. You're not trying to build something scalable. You're not trying to hire a bunch of people on your team. You're just like, hey, I'm trying to pay my bills. I need to make as much money today as possible. And so in that sort of business, you're typically the one that's doing the sales. You're typically the one that is doing the fulfillment of the business as well. So think of this as like coaching or consulting. The quickest path to making money in this area is to just take a skill set that you already have and figure out a way to monetize it. As an example, I recently started mentoring a young kid that came to me. He wants to be an entrepreneur and he wants to be successful. So he actually came to me looking for a job in my current business, but just based off his skill sets, I really didn't have anything for him. But I learned that he coaches soccer. And this is what he does every day for a company, is that he coaches kids for soccer. So I said, hey, here's what you can do is you can start getting clients outside of your current job. And actually, I'll be your first client. Our son actually plays soccer. So I said, hey, I'll pay you to train our son one-on-one. He's been training our son doing private soccer lessons. Now, at the end of the day, with a cash flow type of business, you often will be trading your time for dollars, right? So it's not necessarily scalable, but it will produce quick cash. So he's coming, training our son for an hour, and then I'm paying him an hourly wage to do that. Well, what happened? As I'm mentoring him, I'm going, okay, if you want to make more money, you now have to figure out a way to leverage your time. Well, it turned out there were a couple of other parents that were interested in getting some coaching for their kids too. So now he's starting to do group coaching sessions, right? And so instead of only one parent paying him for that 1 hour, now there are 2 or 3 parents paying him for that 1 hour. So the whole point around that example is, what are some skill sets that you have right now, some talents that you can turn into cash flow that people can pay you for because you already know how to do it and you have a proven skill set in it? Now, the second type of business is what I would call a high ticket business. And so what you're gonna do here is you're gonna focus on selling a product or service that is more expensive, but that probably has lower margins than a cash flow business, right? So as an example, if you're consulting for someone and you charge that person $5,000 a month for consulting, you probably don't really have any cost at all associated with doing that consulting because you're the one delivering it. The only cost is really your time. So it's pretty much a pure profit play. But with a higher ticket business, you have cost associated with it. So that could either be labor cost or that could be your cost of goods. So as an example, let's say that you decided that you were going to do a home services business and that you have experience doing flooring as an example. So you go and you're able to sell a flooring job to a customer. Let's say that job is a $20,000 job. Well, you're not gonna make $20,000 on that actual job that you're doing because number one, you have your cost of your product. Number two, you have your cost of labor if you're having someone else do that installation. So let's say your cost of goods is 20%. Right? 20%, so $4,000 for the actual wood, for the actual flooring. And then let's say that your cost of labor is 50% of that. Let's say it's $10,000, right? So now your cost is at $14,000 and the margin that you would make on that is $6,000. And so when you focus on businesses that have a higher ticket sale and that have costs associated to it, although they have a lower profit percentage, then a cash flow business, because it's a higher ticket sale, still allows you to pocket enough money to be able to create the income that you need to create. And so typically in these sort of businesses, you are gonna wanna have someone that can be the salesperson, and you're gonna need someone that can actually fulfill on the service. A lot of times you are gonna be one of those two, and sometimes you will be both of those, but you're just not building a business that's scalable. So as an example, I recently hired someone to build a wall in our garage. And so the guy that came out to do the estimate was actually the one that's also doing the work on the job as well. So in this case, he was both the salesperson and the installer, but he also has people on his team that are helping to do the construction project as well. And so he's able to produce a nice margin off of that by leveraging the labor of the other people on his team. Now, the third path is building a business that you can sell. So building a business that you can sell requires a completely different mindset than, of course, building a cash flow business or just building one that you're just trying to make as much margin as possible with you not doing everything. Now, the cool thing is that you may find that you start out your business as a cash flow business and then you move it to the second tier where you're, leveraging help and labor and building a team. And then eventually you're transitioning that business into scaling it into something that you can one day sell. So what if you could build a business that you could sell for millions of dollars one day? Now, when you think about building a business that you can sell, it requires a completely different mindset and a completely different strategy. Generally, small businesses will sell for somewhere between 2 to a 4x multiple. What does that mean? So let's say as an example, your business is doing $100,000 in profit, then 2 times that would be $200,000, 4 times that would be $400,000. So typically your business, you'd be able to sell for somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000. So you may be wondering, well, what's the difference between selling a business for $200,000 at a 2x multiple versus a 4x multiple? Well, there are a lot of different nuances to that. So if you want me to make a whole video dedicated on this topic and how to build a business that you can sell, let me know in the comments below. It's something that I'm actively doing right now. So it's something that I can share a lot of information. And look, I have experience in this area because my franchises that I built, I eventually sold. So it's a really exciting thing when you build a business and you one day sell it and it's like, that's it. I built it and it's done and now I can move on to the next thing. So in order to build a business that you can sell, it really builds on all the things that we talked about before. That business has to be able to produce revenue without you, and generally speaking, you're going to need to have a team in place. The less the business is dependent upon you and it can operate without you, the higher value that business is worth. As an example, I have a buddy of mine who built a business doing $12 million a year in sales. Eventually, he got to the point where he was only working in that business 2 days a week, and he had someone who was actually running the entire day-to-day of his business, and he went out and started a completely different business. He actually wound up moving to a whole different state. Eventually, he had a private equity company reached out to him, and he wound up selling that business for a 6x valuation. So, with that said, doesn't matter where you are in your journey, it's good to know and focus your business strategy on whatever is most important to you at the moment and what aligns with your goals. So whether that's number one, a cash flow focused business where you can just produce as much profit and put as much money in your pocket as possible. Number two, whether that's a business that's focused on doing higher ticket or higher amount of volume, where you're able to produce, let's say, somewhere between a 15 to 30% profit margin on your sales, or whether that's focusing on building a business that can one day be sold, where you're reinvesting and pouring back into that business, focusing on building a team and something where the business operates without you. Either way, there's really no wrong way to go about it. It's really just about what aligns with your goals. Now you're probably thinking, what are some specific examples of businesses that I could build that maybe one day I could exit and I could sell? Well, in this video, I talk about 7 businesses that make a load of money. You're gonna wanna see this.